Hey, konnichiwa minasan, it's Gray from Wakazashi's tea house over in Japan. How are you doing? You good? Are you Genki? Have you seen some cherry blossoms? I saw some great sakura today, but don't let me get sidetracked. Today I have a review of the brand new issue of The Ambassadors. It's issue 1, written by Mark Millar, and it's got art by Frank Quitely. Great to see him back. This is published by Image Comics and it came out Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. Priced at $3.99 and you get quite a lot of story in this. You get, I think, I counted 28 pages of story in this. Very, very good. And of course, Frank Quitely's art. Here's a little bit of the mini synopsis from the publisher. Imagine you could gift superpowers to 6 people. In a world of 8 billion, who do you choose? Join 6 of the greatest artists in the industry for an enormous story about ordinary people from around the world explaining why it should be them. The first story features artwork by superstar Frank Quitely. So that's what they've written in the publisher's synopsis. So it sounds like it's going to be 6 issues and each issue is going to have a different artist on it. I like the sound of that. But of course you've got Mark Millar writing the whole series. Okay, so what you want to know is, apart from the fantastic, fantabulous art of Frank Quitely, is the story any good? Is it worth a read? I tell you what, it's a huge recommend because this opening story pulled me right in from the start. It sets up different storylines, different plot threads are going on, but the way that Mark Millar uses the comic book medium to showcase what good comic books are, tell you, it's a lesson to be learned. And some people don't seem to like that. It's getting some kind of spam review scores. I'm going to give a little bit of a rant about that in a minute, but yeah, just take it from me. I'm going to go through and show some of the inside, but I'm not going to spoil it because I want you to enjoy it. It's great. It is really, really good. This is a great comic book. So yeah, if you're interested in good storytelling, if you like good comic book art, please go out and support this series, support this creator. But as I say, he doesn't need your money. He doesn't need it. So, you know, this is done for the love of comic books, for the love of being a comic book writer. I mean, what a great job to have. Well, I think it used to be. I don't know about anymore these days with the madness that's going on with the so-called Big Two. But that's a story for another video. So yeah, Ambassadors issue 1, definite high recommend. Give it a shot. Okay, so here comes my brief story summary and let me show you some of the art. Please keep watching. Here we go. The issue opens and it's Mexico, 1986. We see what appears to be a mountain village. Somebody arrives skidding in the dust outside a taverna or a cantina. There's a drinks machine. Suddenly, the drinks machine seems to explode open and we see what appears to be a monkey drinking cans of pop or soda out on the road. "Pedro, come here, you gotta see this," says the bar's owner. But then a truck approaches. The monkey raises his hand and the truck seems to stop or flip. We see coins going through the air and then we get this great full page here of the truck floating above the monkey. He's controlling it somehow with his hand, with some kind of power. There's been hardly any dialogue, it's all been comic book art and it's telling a story, a fascinating, intriguing story, because you want to know who or what is this monkey? What is it doing here? Why is it in Mexico? What kind of powers does it have? A man in a suit arrives. "Don't worry, sir, we'll take it from here." He calls the monkey Jamie. "Your friends have missed you, Jamie, back in Scotland." He offers him a bag of Skittles if he'll put the truck down nice and gently. And then it just gets even better. "Would you like to get back in your big orange pen? We'll play you your favourite Simple Minds album." Then we get a close-up of the monkey's face. His left eye appears to be red. And then we see it from the monkey's point of view. "Special Agent Abraham Tomes, Department of Extra Normal Operations. Do not harm." "Oh aye, Sparkle in the Rain or New Gold Dream?" "Actually, I was thinking about Once Upon a Time." "Good man. I was just testing you." Now let me stop a moment to say, this is like Mark Millar genius. I would never think of doing this in like this kind of idea. Not only is the monkey sentient and talking, but it's speaking in a Scottish accent. It likes Simple Minds and Skittles. Come on, who's not in already? We then switch to a plane flying over Antarctica. One of the people in the plane says they've just seen something. It looked like a city apparently, with buildings and trees, but it disappeared. Of course the pilot just laughs it off. "Come on, there's nothing down there, it's just wasteland." And then we get on the next page this reveal, this stunning looking, I don't know what it is, futuristic city within a dome. My God! And then we get this great page again with minimal dialogue, pure comic book storytelling. We see somebody taking off a coat. They're wearing what looks like a white jumpsuit with red boots or red shoes. And then we go back to the plane, we see it stuttering in midair. What happened to the engine? Something has turned off the engine and the plane starts to fall. We switch scenes again to Washington DC, where there's a meeting with some shadowy military types and they're talking about Operation Blue Sky. Basically what it was is the Americans faked that they had a Superman, they'd made a superhero. They were trying to engage with a high-risk propaganda exercise to scare the hell out of the Soviets, as it says here. So they used actors and special effects, but it was never convincing enough, so they scrapped it. And then they go on to talk about they've got news that someone has been successful somehow in creating some kind of superpowered individual, Superman or Superwoman. But the bad news is it hasn't happened in America, it's come from somewhere else. Guess where it is? Then another scene shift to the embassy in South Korea. I'm really enjoying this world building where we're getting just little glimpses of different locations, the build up of the story. Mark Millar's setting his chess pieces in place. He's building up to what's going to happen, I guess, in the coming issues. But yeah, not over-explaining it, not info dumping, just good comic book storytelling. Then look at this image here, I love this. Somebody coming out of a picture. She's floating in the air, making an entrance as she says, "Jesus Christ," says someone in the audience, "is this a trick?" Okay, there are still 8 pages to go, but I don't want to spoil any more. So I've got to say, go out and buy this, give it a shot. I think you'll enjoy it. Great art by Frank Quitely and a very compelling opening story by Mark Millar. Okay, please excuse my brief rant, but I've just been checking the Ambassador's score rating on a comic book roundup, which I know it sucks, but man, there's 3 different reviews, basically spam reviews, who've given it the lowest score, 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, one's 4 out of 10, but it lowers the average score down so much. So I just wrote this comment: please ignore the idiots with their ridiculously low spam review scores. The fact that they don't write anything in these so-called reviews speaks volumes. Frank Quitely's art alone is worth a very high rating. Add to that a very compelling opening issue with some brilliant examples of how to use the comic book medium as it should be used. Mark Millar is writing for the joy of being a comic book writer and for the love of the medium. Some people don't like that. The Ambassador's #1 is pure comic book storytelling. Recommended. Now that's what I just don't get it. I think a lot of people just see a writer that either for some reason they don't like, they don't agree with, whatever, for ridiculous reasons, and they just spam review everything they bring out. I see it so much, especially on this site, which is a kind of a dying site anyway. But it just makes me mad because it's if people just scan a quick look at the review and they see a really low average user score, they're like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't as good as I heard, because the critic scores are all pretty high for this. They're all over 8 out of 10. Now, yeah, a lot of the critic reviews can be on the can be shill reviews as well. That some of the critics give 10s or 9s for almost everything, which doesn't make sense. But after you look at this site for a while, you learn to pick out the people who give honest reviews. And if something's crap, I call it out and I will say so. But to just do this when you've got this amazing art for a start by Frank Quitely and you've got a fantastic opening issue. I tell you, if you've got any interest in comics, I'd just say go out and buy this, see what you think, give it a read, and let me know in the comments. Let me know if I'm wrong, because if I am, then I don't understand anything about comic books. Simple as that. This is great. I'm not saying, it's a work of genius. I'm saying it's a compelling opening story with really solid world building, a good introduction of characters, some drop dead gorgeous art, as I keep saying, and, it's hooked me for the rest of the series. Now, I was watching or listening to your boy Zach's video on this, and he loved it as well, but he made a really good point. He's saying, look, Mark Millar doesn't have to write comics anymore. He's not doing it for money. He's fine for money. He's rich, he's loaded, he's got a great deal with Netflix, he's got all these back issues, which I'm sure he gets, huge royalties on. So he's doing this, I think, for the love of the medium. He's doing this because he wants to tell a story. And some bizarre reason, some people don't like that. Isn't it crazy? Anyway, that's it. That's my mini Wakizashi Grey rant over. And as always, let me say thank you again. Thank you so much for watching. If you feel like leaving a comment, that would be awesome. And if you like what I do and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. That would be brilliant. I hope to see you in a future video. This is Grey from Wakizashi's Tea House, signing off for the day here. Matane.